introducing the most famous sutra in all of Mahayana Buddhism, the Heart Sutra. There's not any that's known better. The largest number of Buddhists in the world are in China, and I think that may be obvious, but it may not be. The current numbers are somewhere between 200 and 400 million, depending on how many people are returning to Buddhism as freedom of expression and religion grow. Could be more. China was at one time a completely Buddhist country. So the Heart Sutra is chanted in one form or another on a daily basis. I listened, and actually I wanted to bring in a YouTube today, but I didn't have the right, I don't think this TV will take it to play from my laptop. But you can explore on the internet. Just plug in Heart Sutra and you can find Japanese versions, Southeast Asian versions, Chinese versions, English versions, and Japanese versions. And so there are many, many versions. It's chanted in every language in the world. And we'll get into that a little bit as we move along. The theme of today's talk is mindfulness and compassion in daily life. And there's been a lot of talk about mindfulness in many, many areas of meditation, psychology, work, lots of books written on it. So if you want to explore it, just plug in mindfulness on the internet and you'll find lots of instruction. But mindfulness in Buddhist terms was a technique of meditation. It's the seventh of the 8 paths of Buddhism and considered by many, perhaps even by Shakyamuni Buddha himself, to be the most important. All are essential, all are necessary to have complete realization. But without it, you can't get much of anywhere else. Mindfulness can also be translated as attention. So, and we all know what that means. Every mother and every father tries to teach their children this characteristic of being mindful of the things they do. So orient yourself toward it that way a little bit. And I'm going to start with a selection from the original talks of Shakyamuni. This is one of what are traditionally considered the 7 original texts that, and there are many, many more, but these are the original Pali text of Shakyamuni, the actual memorized words by many of his disciples. The main one was Ananda. But I just want to give you a taste of what mindfulness meant in those terms. It wasn't some vague idea. It had a specific meaning. This is from the 10th book of the Majjhima Nikaya, which means the middle-length discourses of Buddha himself. So this is called the Foundations of Mindfulness. It's often referred to as the 4 Foundations of Mindfulness. So I just want to get you, I'm not going to read much of this because the language is maybe a little off-putting because of the way it's been translated. But this is translated by Bhikkhu Bodhi, who is translating many, if not all, of the works of Shakyamuni, the original ones. Thus have I heard. And that's the way all the sutras start. Whoever's reciting and who has memorized the words of Buddha starts this way. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One, that's Buddha, was living in the Kuru country at a town of the Kurus named Kamadama. There he addressed the bhikkhus. Those were the monks who lived with him in various monasteries and parks around the part of India where he traveled. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus, "Bhikkhus, venerable sir," they replied. The Blessed One said this, "Bhikkhus, this is the direct path for the purification of all beings, for the surmounting of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way for the realization of nibbana, that's Pali for nirvana, which is Sanskrit, namely the 4 foundations of mindfulness. What are the 4? Here, bhikkhus. A bhikkhu abides contemplating the body as a body, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. When I'm leading a meditation group, I say, put it away for the time being, for this 30 minutes, or for this 5 minutes. You can let anything go for that long. He abides contemplating feelings as feelings, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away consciousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating mind as mind, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away consciousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating mind objects as mind objects, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away consciousness and grief for the world. Covetousness. So that's all I'm going to read for that. I want you to get a taste of that. So when the word mindfulness is used in Buddhist context, it originally applied specifically to a technique of meditation in which one, so Zen, which many of you have heard of or practiced, that kind of meditation, which often focuses on the breath, not always, but often does, that's a technique of the body. So when you follow your breath, you're following something that's happening within the body. The breath was something that Buddha taught himself. And the reason he did is because the breath is the most important thing we have. Without it, you can't do anything, obviously. There are many, many other ways to meditate. You can meditate on your feelings, on the pain in your body, or the joy you feel, all those things. And follow them and pay attention. So I'm not going to give this is not a course in meditation, but to just give you an illustration of what that is. So with that, I'll turn to the thing. In today's world, it's a whole lot harder to find time. Obviously, those bhikkhus had committed themselves. They were what you call home livers. They left home and joined Buddha, and they lived from the patronage of several very wealthy people, including several kings, who supported Buddha and many of his, and all of his disciples in that way. There were many lay followers too. So they would come and then listen to talks by Buddha himself or other people. So that's the context of ancient India.